it's a good time to to be expanding. I mean, organizations like Nobu Hotel Group. I mean, I see Trevor posting online that they're expanding, which is great. But other ones they're letting the city take over the property and turn it into low-income housing.
Yeah,
Right.
I've got a pretty big client who is in the same thing.
We're ready to go, Eric.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Real Hospitality Live. This is a great opportunity today that I'm getting a chance to talk with Eric Arsenault. This is an idea that Eric and I talked about a long time ago, long before COVID happened. And I'm not usually a pro tech guy, but when I heard about Eric and Menuvative, I said, you know what, I've got to be involved, and I've got to get you on the show to tell everybody about it. This is just the coolest tool for operators for dine-in restaurants. Eric, how are you to start with?
Doing good, Jason. Thanks. Glad we're finally here. You know, we've been talking about doing this, and then the world changed, and we've both had things going on scheduling that's been tough. But
Yeah.
Glad we're both still looking good and able to talk.
Hey, well, it's this.
I mean, you're looking good. I'm not
well,
saying
hey,
that.
you know what? Thanks. This is really talks to what's been happening and organizations finding their feet in the middle of this, and now with your organization picking up a little bit where you left off before COVID hit, and in the industry. I mean, and I think people with having dine-in restaurants, I mean, you have a technology that's super cool and people should know about. Let's introduce it right away.
Yeah. You want me to start with really what we are and what we aren't?
Let's hear it. I love your backstory, by the way. It's super cool.
Okay. So yeah, should I maybe tell the people a little bit of the backstory that I spent my whole life in restaurants. I was engineering major at the university. My jobs, for the most part, from maybe 14 years old and on, had to do in restaurants, whether it was getting started washing dishes and peeling potatoes to bussing tables and serving tables. Eventually became a CPA, and then a wine and spirits director for a multi-unit group around the country. They had a pretty good sized number of restaurants around the country. But that engineering piece of me that, and I always kind of have been a techie, always was still in there somewhere. And this goes way back to before there were kind of digital anything. I think when I first held a smartphone for the first time, not even iPhones or Android phones, but the first time you could actually touch a phone that didn't have, physical buttons on it, I was pretty enamored with where things were going, And it was around the time of when Kindles were just kind of coming out, and e-readers, and I was pretty enamored with that. And I was doing a side project for the group that I worked with, because that was when restaurants started finally paying attention. No, this is 2008 or so, maybe, to the fact that they needed websites. They started to realize marketing externally was pretty important, and the internet was actually a pretty important place to be able to advertise for restaurants. And the ones that my companies had, they didn't have the best restaurant websites. So I had previously actually had a web design company. It was one of my first entrepreneurial ventures. So I had a little bit of programming knowledge, and was doing kind of as a side job, restaurant websites for companies. And I said, hey, I'm gonna redo all the restaurants' websites. And so I'd done a few of them. And then when I got to the one where it was the higher end steakhouse, I had this really neat idea where I wanted to make the menu more interactive. I don't want to just see a PDF of a menu. I want to show pictures of the food, and I want to have my wine list be interactive, and I want to pair, wines to food and stuff, and really make it engaging and exciting. And so I started kind of building out a Flash-based, more animated menu for the website. And while that project was happening, I happened to be walking through the dining room one night and saw somebody reading the Kindle, holding a Kindle for the first time at a table. And at first I thought it was a menu, and then I realized because it was about the size of a menu, close to it.
Right.
And I went, oh no, that's one of those e-readers. And I had sort of that light bulb moment where, hold on here, I'm trying to create an interactive menu for people, viewing the restaurant from, externally from the website. The technology's right there that soon, why wouldn't we be able to do that for everybody at the table? Like that's what the menu should be on. We can finally solve all these problems of, communication between the operator and the guest, and the server not knowing answers to questions, and what's in the food and what goes well with what, if we could fit more of that information in the menu itself. So started kind of whiteboarding the concept of what a digital menu would be. This, again, back 2008, before an iPad came out. And then it started to happen where, the iPad did come out, but then they were $600 a piece. So the thought of, well, a restaurant might need 100 of these, $60,000 for tablets is kind of a lot. So, kept waiting, with this great idea, sort of in secret, to take it further. And then when Android came out, started to drive the prices down. A pretty neat thing happened where my then boss at the time, who again was a 20-unit restaurateur, he happened to be the chairman of the National Restaurant Association at the time, so he was very well respected in the industry. He'd seen an article about someone who had done a iPad wine list. And so, and I had heard about this. It was Chicago Cut. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but they were one of the first people to go out and spend a bunch of money to develop their own iPad app for their wine list that they were going to present on iPads. And this was after I'd already started thinking about the whole menu concept, but I'd kind of said, it needs to be the whole menu, not just the wine list. Like, why stop halfway? And so then I realized, well, I got this guy who's in, he said he left an article on that on my desk and said, asked me what I thought about it. And I was like, okay, now I've got a guy who usually loves to, back me on the things I want to do. Time to share this idea with him and see what he thinks about it. And so I called him for a meeting and said, hey, I've been thinking about this for years. I think we should go whole menu, not just an app for a wine list. And he said, yeah, that would be great for the Chop House concept. And I said, no. I mean a whole nother company for the entire industry, not just our restaurants, and whoa, like much bigger scale. And he said, yeah, let's do it. And so for the next year, we found a group of developers, because I did have a job to do. I couldn't just cut off and start totally coding this whole new background for digital menus. So we found developers, had them working on the platform, and it took about a year. I want to say 9 months to a year to actually get the first version of Menuvative up and running. And the cool part about it is in that whole time we did it, we told nobody in the company what we were doing. So we launched this in the Chop House in Ann Arbor under the guise that a company had approached him through him being the chairman of the National Restaurant Association with this idea, wanting him to be like a beta test for it.
Right.
And then I was always kind of the techie guy in the company, so I'm just going to put Eric in charge of managing it. So
Right.
that's you're working with him. So no one still knew that he was investing in me and that this was my baby that I've been working on for years.
Cool.
And so we launched the first version in the Chop House, and it was like, holy smokes, the thing just went, guests went bonkers. We were really unsure. Our server's going to like it, or the manager's going to like it. What will the guests think?
Yeah.
I think I may have told you about the story of, we were the first week taking some surveys, wanted to get people's feedback. And I was walking down the dining room, and someone reached out and grabbed my arm really firmly. And I looked down, and it was this little old lady who was, maybe in her 80s. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to tear my head off about technology, And instead she said, these should be a law, because I can finally read the menu again.
Oh.
And I wanted to run out to the alley and start jumping for joy, because it was like,
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's going to be people who are, I knew there was going to be people who were naysayers or pushing back against anything new. But if you could win over some of the people who weren't tech savvy because it had some benefits like that, then, it really did tell me that we were onto something big.
Well, I mean, the cool thing about it is that you get the opportunity to see what a dish looks like and what it's plated like, and basically a general idea of the portion size and
Yeah.
all of those things, right? I mean, those are questions as servers, and you and I have both been on the floor. I mean, you get that all the time. And then there's the guy where you take he orders the tomato and shrimp dish, and you bring it to him, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't realize it had tomatoes. It's in the title."
Yeah, exactly.
You told me you wanted the tomato and shrimp dish. I wrote it down.
Yeah, yep. And that is kind of one of the side notes that we learned fairly early on, was that it helped people become more confident in their ordering decisions, and made me realize that a lot of times when guests have something they complain about, it might have been cooked fine, server might have done a great job with service, but it just was, in their brain, not what they expected. They were thinking it was going to be A, and they ended up getting somewhere between A and B. It's not like it was a complete disaster, but it just wasn't quite what they expected. And so people will go home, with, totally not, just not fully enthused. They might not have hated it, but they just weren't really thrilled about it. And I think when you can see a dish, it answers so many questions. I know when I see a dish, I can usually just tell by reading what the ingredients are and seeing the dish. I can already kind of conjure what it's going to taste.
That's there. Yeah. The cool thing about it is like you say, the interactive part, where you can go onto the menu, choose if it says filet mignon, if it says tomato and shrimp, and click on it, up it comes, and the educational part of it is in there. It's not a replacement for the server. It's an enhancement tool for the servers to use, which is awesome.
Yeah, and the better servers realize that. And then even early on, I used to try to get to every new launch and explain right away, look, you don't order from this, you don't pay from this. This isn't trying to get rid of service. It's just trying to get rid of paper. It's trying to take an outdated medium that we've been using for as long as restaurants have been around, and get rid of that 2D space where you're trying to say as much as you can about a dish, but you're just filling up a paper with tons of words, and it's funny, I'm working with an account right now where my biggest, he's like, what do you think of our menu? And I'm like, the biggest thing I know we can do better here is you have a lot to say about all your dishes, and that's a good thing, but you have this giant front and back one piece of paper that's got like 1 million words on it. When I hold it up, nothing jumps out at me because there's just so much text.
Yeah.
And I probably can guarantee that anybody sitting down to it, within that 90-second to 2-minute attention span that most people have, they just get like overwhelmed and they're just like, okay, I just need to pick something.
Yeah.
So that
add one picture, subtract 1,000 words.
Yeah, exactly. You can just see it and actually not have to read nearly as much as you thought you had to,
Yeah.
And then still, if you want to drill down further, dietary information, nutritional information, allergen information, it's there if you need it, but we don't have to force it for you to see everything all at once unless you need it. So, I always tell people, we can put double the amount of information that you have, but actually improve your readability, because we don't have to shove everything about every single dish right in everybody's face all at once. We can let them kind of navigate through things the way they want to.
I think your timing is awesome for customer acceptance too, because it's tech, and people and people of a certain age and younger love tech, and then people of a certain age and older are having trouble seeing the menu.
Yeah, and then they too, you would think that those are the people who might have some issues with tech, and it's just the visual and stuff. No, I mean, it's hard work to find a phone nowadays that has buttons. So like even those people, their cars they're driving are more complicated than our menus. I tell most people. So this idea that some people just are going to be pushing back against technology, it's like we're pretty far past that. Now that wasn't always the case. 2012, 8 years ago when we started this, I think I might have shared that people would look at me like I was Doc from Back to the Future, selling the flux capacitor with my hair like sticking up, looking crazy. When I said I'm putting menus on tablets, they were like, great Scott, right? And over the years, more and more people are looking at me less like I'm nuts and more like, it totally makes sense now, And now, with COVID and people worried about, paper and what they're touching, it's starting to make a lot more
You
sense
can
where they
sanitize
realize,
a
well,
tablet and wipe it down.
exactly.
Yeah.
This was always a challenge, even just a few years ago, of getting people to even understand what their costs really were. I mean, I would argue if I took 100 restaurateurs, regardless of whether an account or they're a prospect or whatever, and just said, what are you spending in a year for your menu? That any of them, could come within 10% of what they're actually spending. They usually are way off.
Right.
And when you get them to dial down and look at what they spend, or in a month or factor it out into a whole year, it's a lot more than they think. And now I'm getting people who are finally going, we're starting to look at this and we're doing the math, and it costs me a lot more to do this on paper than it does to actually just buy tablets, which, might last 3, 4, or 5 years. And you can change your menu as often as you want. So,
there's
it's finally starting to make more sense.
Two points that I keep thinking about with when I think about Menuvative. And the first one is the largest part of the population is that growing senior population. And I say senior up to a certain, from a certain age and up. And that's the largest part of the population that we have. And when I do consulting or when I do training, I talk about that as not only are they the largest population, but they're also the most loyal. And if you don't have to have a stamp card for them to come back. If you have something that makes them comfortable and treats them well, and something that's functional, then they're going to come back, because then they don't feel like it's challenging.
Yeah.
The other part that I love is if you can see the dessert menu. The average person the average sale for desserts is 1 in 6 if you mention it. This can double that just by seeing it.
Yeah.
You want to increase your sales, you want to up your guest check average, boom, hit the dessert button.
Yep.
That's
the average is about 15%. It depends on the concept, but it's usually somewhere between 10 to 15% increase in per person check average. And that's, like you said, it's desserts, it's the little side dishes, the add-ons, it's that appetizer before dinner. It's the tangential items that, a lot of times people will just skip over because they've been sitting looking at a menu and they're just like, I got to hurry up and order something.
Yeah.
And so it's those extras. And I've had people come back and be like, God, I know I spent more because I'm sitting there looking at the cigar list and the scotch list and the desserts. I'm just, you got me on a bunch of things that I didn't think I was in for,
So when an operator decides they want to move forward with this, what's the next step? Do you set them up with the actual tablets and they get a hold of you guys, and you have photographers involved, or how does that all happen?
Yeah, so everybody is different. The usual, sort of process is you've got a restaurant to run. I know that if we said, here's everything, you can do it all yourself. And it can be done that way. We've actually had some accounts we've never even met before. They just heard about us. You can go to Menuvative right now, and it's free until you're actually putting menus in your restaurant, and create your account and start designing your menus and do all that stuff. But we know that that's not the average operator. They're pretty busy. So usually it's give us all your menu content and get somebody in there to start photographing your dishes. And I'll give them a little bit of, advice on how to best practices for photography and stuff like that. But we don't send photographers around the country. We got people in every corner of the country. So it's just, and we really love it if they can do it with the phone, because nowadays you can get some darn good food photos right from your phone. So usually if I tell them, just get it near some natural lighting near a window and put it on a table and, frame it right and take it widescreen, not tall, it's going to be a good menu shot. Don't overdo it. Don't try to make it look better than what you're going to normally serve it to, because people will hold you accountable for that. And then if they give us their menu, it usually takes us maybe a day, at most 2, depending on how big, to enter everything. It used to take us a lot longer with wine lists and stuff, but now we have global databases that have thousands of wines and beers in there. So we can just search for them and we pop it right in. And so we can usually lay out the menu and stuff and just need their photos within a couple of days. And And then it's up to them. Do they want buy their own hardware and load it themselves? We do offer tablets. We have 8-inch tablets, 10-inch tablets, case options, stuff like that. A lot of times people want to do custom things, get their own leather bound cases and things like that, to fit them the best that we can fit them. And then we try to deliver it all, turnkey. So, we'll even set up their Wi-Fi and everything on the tablet. So what we love is I could be shipping you a box of tablets. You get them out of the box, you turn them on, the charging docks are right there to plug in. You turn them on, they're already connecting to your Wi-Fi. They already have your menu on it and you're ready to go.
That's awesome.
And then it takes us, I say, 2 hours to learn and 2 weeks to master how to teach them our software so that they can start managing the content, on their own.
If they have an 86 item that they need to pull off that night, can they do that, or does it just stay in
from their phone? Yeah, I mean, it's all browser based. So anywhere they have an internet connection, they could be on the beach if they need to, and and go into their account, uncheck a box, and it disappears off all the menus within a few minutes. Yep.
So
and not just 86 something, but change it. I mean, they want to remove an item completely, or put a new feature on that day. I mean, I had a chef that I always use as a good example. He had a great garden, right in his restaurant was down the street from his house, and he had this awesome garden right in his backyard, and he would use stuff from it on a regular basis for specials. And he would make the dish the night before, and then enter and take a picture of it and go home that night and put it in his dashboard. It's already ready to go. By the time he gets in the morning, it's already on his special page or his feature page.
Awesome.
So the ability to change it on a regular basis, I think, is
well, to be able to manage that is great. One thing that has occurred to me, and me going out to restaurants in our area as well, I find it really difficult to communicate with the servers now because hello,
harder to talk.
Right.
Oh, and what's happened with the supply chain? I mean, the supply chain has forced a lot of restaurants to slim down their menus a lot and be very dynamic now. Like, this is here for a couple of days and then all of a sudden it's gone and we got to do something else, because the supply chain's been pretty radically, interrupted, especially when people were shut down and then had to suddenly reopen, and they're like, the cupboards are bare, and it's like, hey, you can't go back to your 60 item menu that you had when you have none of your ingredients in house. You got to ease your way back into it. And so, we actually had a lot of our customers saying that was something that they were really happy about, is that they could slim down the menu and then work, gradually add an item or two back on as they started getting more stuff back in stock.
Well, to be in control of that is a big advantage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. So how can people who are watching, and today we're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, how can all these people get a hold of you, Eric, to get this in their dining rooms? Because they bloody well need it.
I think the best thing to do is go to menuvative.com, take a peek. Our contact info is on there. Give us a call, ask us questions. I always say, you have the questions, hopefully have the answers, or at least try to. There's plenty of people who call saying they're looking for something that can do this, this, and this. If we can't do it for you, I'll point you in the direction that, I think you should go. And obviously, if we can, I love being partners in their business. So
that's awesome. And if you are watching this on LinkedIn Live, on Facebook, or any of the other platforms, feel free to put a question down below, tag us in it, and we will make sure that Eric gets an opportunity to come back and answer that. LinkedIn especially, we get a lot of people asking questions, and then usually our guests will pop back afterwards and go back in and answer them, because it's not always an opportunity for us to do it live. Yeah. So this is it's a great opportunity to see how this can fit into your menu, into your concept, and to allow you to sell more product and really to add this awesome tool to your server's toolbox. My guest today has been Eric Arsenault of Menuvative. This has been a long time coming. We've been super excited to do this, and I've been telling everybody that I can about this, and hopefully people are seeing this and really get it, that you can set it up so that customers can visualize and get the visual of your dishes in your restaurant, and not have to go through just a worded menu. This is such an advantage to a dining room.
If I could add one thing before we go, as a result of COVID, one of the things that we put into effect a couple months ago, and it encouraged me because I saw, some people were saying we were really helpful in their reopening, and I started thinking that it's great that we're helping our existing customers, but how could I, help, especially new people who are interested in coming to Menuvative, who, if you need tablets and you need money right now to buy tablets, that's a tough call. I know people are hurting for cash flow and opening these restaurants. So one of the things we're doing is being very aggressive about not charging people for their Menuvative subscription. The way we make money is off of the license fee for using our software. We don't make anything on hardware. So I launched a program called the COVID Recovery Program, where we are doing the first 3 months of Menuvative at 100% off. They pay nothing. The next quarter will be 75% off. The next quarter, 50. So we're easing them in 25% per quarter, so they won't even pay the normal rate of Menuvative for a year from now. So it really, like I said before we started the stream, that my biggest concern is not where are we getting our revenue from right now. We're doing pretty good. It's what's going to happen to our industry as a whole because of all this. And if I can help more people, I'm less concerned about, earning their business financially right now. And I'm more concerned about helping them open their restaurants. And hopefully, that helps us a year from now down the road.
Absolutely. Well, that's amazing that you guys can do that. And what a way for people to get into it and get it started now to help them with their revenue boost. So that's freaking awesome. I love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Eric. I know that we've been doing the tag thing and the moving across the country thing and all of that. It's that's how the world is right now. But we've finally got here and got to tell the world about this. Thanks again for coming on. My guest today has been Eric Arsenault of Menuvative. And if you have questions, put them below. And also hit the like button. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Jason.
Have a great day.
You too.